This is Glow in the Dark Radio. The science fiction podcast, with original independent science fiction, written and performed by Mike Luoma, with music by Kevin MacLeod. The Vatican Assassin Trilogy and The Adventures of Alibi Jones by Mike Luoma are available in ebook, trade paperback, and audiobook wherever you find your books online. Get links and details at glowinthedarkradio.com. This is the science fiction podcast, Glow in the Dark Radio. I'm your host, your writer and reader, Mike Luoma, and I have part 2 of Chapter 9 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her on this week's episode. Now, Alibi Jones has just landed on what some call the mad planet Metcalf. He's tracking down the technological relic of the ancient enemy called the Travel Chair of Enokata. He's been experiencing strange pressure on his mind, on his head, and hearing odd distant chimes and faint laughter, which seems to fade if he tries to focus on it. The planet is said to be protected by some kind of security device called the Laughing Array, and Alibi wonders, is it the array that he's dealing with in his head? Sure seems to be so. We'll see if it is in part 2 of Chapter 9 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her, only on Glow in the Dark Radio. In book news, this paperback should be on sale for the rest of the month. As we make it through the last few days of April, A is for April and Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her in paperback should be available for under $20 and under $20 worth in foreign markets as well. Yeah. It's usually just a little bit more, and I've got it on sale through the end of the month. So if you're looking to get a paperback copy of the book you're listening to, Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her, it is on sale now for under $20 for the paperback. The trade paperback. It's one of those big guys. And a big thank you to patrons who support the podcast and keep things going. If you'd like to become a patron and help support what you're listening to, head to patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio, and you can pledge for $2, $5, or $10 a month and help support the podcast and my science fiction efforts. We've got part 2 of Chapter 9 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her, part of the Alibi Jones Chronological Omnibus, coming up next on Glow in the Dark Radio.
Under 30,000 feet of water, the exploration rig Leaguer has discovered an oil field larger than Saudi Arabia. With oil so sweet and pure, nations would go to war for the rights to it. But as the team starts drilling exploration wells in their race to claim the sweet crude, a deep rumbling beneath the ocean floor shakes them to their core. Something has been living in the oil. Paul E. Cooley's The Black is a techno-horror thriller reminiscent of movies such as Leviathan and The Thing, and puts terror right into readers' ears. The Black, a free podcast novel available from shadowpublications.com and iTunes. Ocean exploration will never be the same.
Now here's part 2 of Chapter 9 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her on Glow in the Dark Radio. Alibi still hears the laughter. It's louder now and more distinct, but still fleeting. Each time, The sound seems to disappear as it penetrates his awareness.
Annoying. The audio equivalent of seeing something flash in the corner of your eye, on the edge of your sight. But when you look, you see nothing there. Is there such a thing as peripheral hearing?
He allows his mental doors to open a crack, but again feels the steely grasping. He slams them shut to block it out. He realizes his eyes are closed.
Have I been walking with my eyes closed?
He opens his eyes. He's reached the shadows at the end of the trench.
How long were my eyes closed?
Alibi has to wonder. It must have been a while. Otherwise, how could he have approached the enormous ball of alien wreckage that now blocks out the sky without noticing?
Looks like the ship, or whatever it is, burned up entering the atmosphere. Then crashed and rolled, cutting out this trench and turning into a near sphere because of its tumbling impact.
Alibi backs away from the wreckage, out of its shadow. Despite his mental image of double doors, the laughter returns. And this time it doesn't go away when Alibi focuses on it. Instead, the sound changes, forms into a voice like a chorus of laughing angels singing inside of Alibi's skull.
We are the Laughing Array!
Hello.
What should I say?
I'm Alibi Jones.
Are you of the people?
The voice laughs at him. I am a person, Alibi answers. So, yes, I guess so.
Are you here with supplies?
What? He asks it.
You are either here with supplies, or you have been sent here on exile. If you do not have supplies, we must assume you are of the exiled. Although no longer in orbit, the Laughing Array is still capable of carrying out our duties.
It laughs at him. Alibi's head fills with pain. Ah! He screams. He sees white, and then nothing, knocked out cold by what feels like a bolt of mental energy fired into his brain. He quickly regains consciousness, coming to with a pounding headache echoing boom, 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 boom in his brain.
You do not react as we are programmed to anticipate.
The Laughing Array chimes. The formless laughter returns, echoing with the throbbing in his head. Alibi raises his fists to the sides of his head, pressing them flat against both his temples. He scrunches up his face as he concentrates on thinking as loud as he can.
Stop!
He shouts with his mind and his mouth. The laughter stops. The Laughing Array is quiet. The pressure and the pain evaporate.
Huh. Thank God. Is it off? No, not off. But this unit recognizes the voice of command, and so has stopped attempting to contain you. You are highly resistant to the Laughing Array. Most have already joined in the laughter by this point. Your resistance, and now your voice of command, puts the Laughing Array at your service.
Why do you do this? Alibi asks. Why do you drive people mad?
It is my function.
But why? To what ends?
To maintain the planet of exile.
The Laughing Array chimes, sounding less amused.
These are not the questions of command.
The Array challenges. Quiet! Alibi shouts and thinks as loud as he can. The Array quiets. I am testing you. You have been damaged, Laughing Array. Assessment is in order.
Let's see if that works. If this thing is what I think it is. Careful. Don't want to think too loud. Understood,
comes the chiming reply from the AI inside the melted ball of what was once an orbital planetary defense mechanism, if Alibi has it figured correctly. He gets right down to business. Array, I need only one thing from you. Can you tell me where the Travel Chair of Enokata is?
Presumably, it remains where it was last put to use, at the residence of Quintele.
The Array laughs at him. Where is that on a map? Alibi asks. Can you give me coordinates? The Array laughs something at him that Alibi's mind cannot understand. His brain has no frame of reference with which to grasp the old AI's coordinate system. He tries a different tactic. Send me a mental image of where it is from here, Alibi commands. An image of the area they are in appears in Alibi's mind. In his mind's eye, he zooms up off the landscape to look down at the grid below, visible now as it once was, as actual buildings and roadways. One of the buildings lights up.
There!
The array laughs. I see it. Thank you. The image fades from his mind. He's impressed. The ancient enemy created a machine capable of using mental powers, possessing powerful psionic energy.
You are not of the people!
The array laughs at him without humor.
You are something new!
I'm Alibi Jones. I told you that.
You are not an exile either!
The array laughs without humor.
You are something new! This unit will no longer respond to your commands!
Ah, great. Just so long as it stays out of my head.
We will, for now. We are still assessing you. Further analysis is required.
You do that. Alibi backs away from the big burnt ball of twisted, melted, and rounded metal and carbon. He walks up the edge of the trench and gets his bearings, trying to superimpose the image the laughing array projected into his mind over the real world as it's laid out in front of him now. Let's see. Should be over this way. He heads for what was once, according to the laughing array, the residence of Quintelle, whoever he was. His heart sinks at the old ruin when he reaches the site of the residence. It's a hill. Where's the door? How am I supposed to get into a freaking hill? Damn. Need a big shovel. Back to the cruiser. Alibi treks back up the trench towards his ship in blissful silence, enjoying the laughter-free trip. Thank you for that, Alibi says out loud, knowing that the laughing array is still listening in to his thoughts as its evaluation continues. Might as well talk to myself. No, you're monitoring me anyway. There's no answer in his head this time, as the array maintains its silence. Alibi boards the cruiser and fires up the engines. He lifts off and brings the ship in low over the site of Quintelle's residence. As he hovers over the site, he turns on the ship's lasers and targeting systems. If I set the lasers on low power, maybe I can blast the place clear of the accumulated dirt and vegetation, Alibi thinks out loud. Probably shouldn't start with this place, though. Gotta try practicing first. Alibi moves the cruiser about a block away from Quintelle's home. The ship's scanners show him the framework of an ancient building buried beneath the mound below. He aims the laser and fires. The gaping hole provides ample evidence the effort is a bit too clumsy. Oops, Alibi says. He moves the ship over another buried building and tries again. Let's see if I can blast away the crap around the place and not the place itself. Ah, hell, nope, not good. Another hole in the ground. Gotta try again, find another safe target. Hovering over another ancient edifice, he tries to use the laser more surgically. He carves debris away more gently this time, revealing the top of the front wall of an old house, until he accidentally obliterates the wall with his next shot. Blast it, he swears. But I think I've got it. Gonna try anyway, I'm tired of practicing. Alibi brings the ship back in over Quintelle's residence. He begins his ham-handed laser surgery, slicing away 1,000,000 years' worth of overgrowth from the front and side walls of the building below. Following the guide provided by the ship's scanners, he clears away the dirt and the growth, leaving the sides of the building nearly clean, revealing the structure itself. He uses a series of sweeping, less surgical shots to flatten a landing spot in front of the residence, and then sets the cruiser down. He disembarks and walks over to the still smoldering front wall of the ancient ruin. I'm sure the Solar Alliance's xenoarchaeologists wouldn't approve, Alibi says to himself and the array. Investigating the residence's front door proves disappointing. Dirt? More dirt? The exterior of the ruin has been cleared, but over time the interior had evidently also filled up with vegetation and grime. The building's framework is completely overgrown and solidly filled in. Back to the ship. Like I said, I'm no archaeologist. Alibi grabs a rifle-sized energy blaster from the ship's armory and walks back out to the old building's front door. He points the rifle at the doorway and fires. Fwash! Fwash! The beam blasts out a hollow a few feet deep and about 1 meter square. Fwash! Fwash! The rifle blasts only succeed in hollowing out a small, smoking, burnt cubbyhole. This isn't working, he says to himself and the still silent laughing array. Alibi sulks as he heads back to the cruiser. He looks around the ship trying to find something that might let him penetrate the ruins. There is some emergency excavation equipment stored in the small cargo hold, but Alibi doesn't feel like shoveling. Besides, it would take him days to dig his way into the house. He heads back to the bridge to analyze what information he has. He fires up the ship's scanner array. "You're my favorite array," Alibi says to the silent scanner. "I like you better than the laughing one." He laughs at himself, wonders if the laughing array is still monitoring him. Don't know why I'm trying to cause trouble. Alibi waits for a moment to see if the mind pressure will return. It doesn't. He's relieved, but angry all the same. Don't like having a threat hanging over me like this. "Ship, run a mineral scan of the surrounding area. See if anything strange turns up," Alibi commands. The scanner throws up a multicolored heads-up display of the dispersion of minerals deposited in the nearby area just below the planet's surface. A pink smudge below Quintelle's residence stands out. Unidentifiable substance. Interesting, Alibi says to himself. Looks like our potential ancient alien artifact, don't it? Now let's see if this works. Ship, sync up the mineral scan with the laser targeting systems. Give me the new scan on top of the regular targeting scans. The heads-up display changes as the ship's computer complies with Alibi's orders. The mineral scan, superimposed over the target scan, shows Alibi that the object is actually buried below the residence. Keeping safely away from the pink smudge on the display, Alibi uses the cruiser's lasers to again burn away the dirt below. Thinking some silent apologies to future xenoarchaeologists, he cuts away the walls of the supposed Quintelle residence, razing it to the ground. He lands the cruiser on his newly created scorched plain. The dirt is still hot and smoking as Alibi disembarks. He runs gingerly across the seared soil, over to the former site of the now burned-away residence, stopping short as a gaping hole appears in the ground in front of him. Alibi hops from foot to foot, trying to keep his boots from melting, as he looks down into the hole. He sees stone steps, shrouded in darkness, leading down a slanting shaft cut into the bedrock. Alibi jumps down onto the first step to get off the hot dirt. He fishes a small light stick from his pocket and shines it down the stairs to see where they lead. Looks like the shaft and the stairs end about a flight down at a narrow black opening. Alibi descends the stairs of stone, shining the light around him as he goes. Plain. Carved rock. Steps are plain, walls are plain. Well, let's see what's ahead here. The shaft and steps end at the narrow entrance to an open room, the inside of a hollowed-out stone cube with 10-foot-high walls. Alibi walks in and shines the light around the plain stone slabs. Feels like a tomb. The air smells musty and dead. First fresh air in centuries pouring in now, I suppose. What looks like the metal frame for a chair, recliner, or a bed stands in the center of the stone room. Alibi draws close to examine it. Shallow, flat-bottomed boxes are attached to the frame, where cushions must have been mounted. Is this it? The travel chair? What first looked like metal now appears to be a fusion of metal and stone. A heavy dust coats the flat parts where the cushions once sat, as well as the stone slab below the chair. Bet the cushions disintegrated into dust long ago. Or maybe it's just a very uncomfortable chair. The headrest is more elaborate than the simple panel frames of the chair itself, made up of 4 smaller shallow boxes that resemble baking pans. A small pan mounted flat on top of the larger back frame would have apparently served as a cushion for the back of the head. The other 3 pans are mounted on the sides of the flat one, curving up and around the space where one's head would presumably be if one were lying on the chair. Alibi straightens up from his examination and looks around. Feels like someone is watching me. I suppose something is. So, Laughing Array, is this it? He asks out loud. Is this the Travel Chair of Enokata? He hears a chiming chorus of sound in his mind as the array finally answers him.
Assessment and analysis continues. The Laughing Array does not recognize your commands nor does this array grant you the authority required to question it.
You are damaged, Laughing Array. Remember that. Are you analyzing and assessing yourself, too? I hope so, Alibi says, attempting to goad the AI. There's no response. The air seems to shift, and Alibi no longer feels like he's being watched. See ya, he says to himself. Alibi looks down at the frame as his curiosity builds. Guess there's really only one way to see if this is the travel chair, he says. He brushes off as much of the ancient dust as he can, cleaning off the frame. Then he climbs onto the frame, working himself into position, getting his head up onto the headrest. You ever hear of the Nix of Niberia? When the great Nix got into the capsule, its systems began surrounding him. Alibi hears old Brady Thomas in his head. He tries to silence him. Not now. That was part 2 of Chapter 9 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her on Glow in the Dark Radio, part of our continuing featuring of the Alibi Jones Chronological Omnibus on the podcast. So Alibi Jones thinks he can fly the travel chair? In the travel chair? Travel by thought? We'll see about that. We'll see what happens on our next episode. See what happens with Alibi and the travel chair next in Chapter 10 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her. Once again, not a whole ton of book news, but the paperback of the novel we're listening to, not the actual omnibus, but the actual novel, the individual novel, Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her. That trade paperback of that novel should be on sale for under $20 worth. I say worth because it's, different currencies. It's worth about $20. It should be under that. On sale through the rest of April. So check out books2read.com/Alibi Jones Sunrise for links to all the places you can get the book. And speaking of links, patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio is the place to go to help support the podcast if you want to become a patron. And many thanks to those patrons who already do support the podcast for $2, $5, or $10 a month. If you want to find out more, again, that address, that link is patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio. And that is all for this week. I am your host and your writer and reader, Mike Luoma. Thank you once again for listening to Glow in the Dark Radio. Glow in the Dark Radio. This podcast presentation is copyright 2025 by Michael F. Luoma and is protected under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License, CC by NC/ND 4.0. Music by Kevin MacLeod. You can find his work at incompetech.com. Mike's books are available in ebook, paperback, and audiobook, wherever you find books online. Get links and more details at glowinthedarkradio.com and mikeluoma.com. This has been a presentation of Glow in the Dark Radio.